Julian has left a note. Julian has left the Rory and Mal podcast.
Yo, get their name out there, mouth.
Right. Yeah. And he was one of the producers behind the camera with Baby D, Menace. And he had been with the podcast for 3 years. And his disappearance at the top of this year was strange, essentially. Nobody knew. There wasn't like a grand entrance. It was just like he had stopped showing. He wasn't on like for 2 weeks. And then when Rory and Mal did finally address it, actually only Rory addressed it. On the show, it was like a 20-second send-off, pretty much. It was, hey guys, Julian is no longer with the podcast, blah, blah, blah. It was really like
melancholy.
Yeah, it was like, hey, the nigga's gone. We appreciate what he did for us while he was here, and that's it.
They treated it like he died of natural causes. Like, what we're gonna do is just God called him home, and
pretty much.
Yeah.
So
no explanation though.
None. So we're only getting conversation and talking from Julian. And I remember in the first clip that we talked about it, I was like, I don't want to hear no fucking podcast from this nigga. You know what I'm saying? I was like, go on Instagram Live and call it a day. But I ended up watching the podcast that he started, and it's called Something Wrong with This Podcast. Mm-hmm. And it was much better than I thought it was going to be. So he got on it.
You love spite content, though. So does that play a role in this?
Spite content?
Yeah, because, this all forms in spite of his prior arrangement. He's trying to prove he can do it on his own. He's like, man, fuck y'all. I'm just going to start my own platform.
Like, it's the underdog story, too.
I like that, too, yeah.
It's the underdog story, too. It's like, and it's just ironic, it's just a cycle from Joe Budden to Rory and Mal to Rory and Mal to Julian. It's just
that's a positive spin, but is he really an underdog? Are the odds against him?
For sure.
In what way?
Who really likes him?
A lot of people do. 75,000 people have watched it since it dropped.
Joe Budden likes him.
So pretty much, but also what I wanted to say in this, him leaving and starting his own podcast, is when I watched episode 1 of Something Wrong with This Podcast, I already thought like I was like kind of on the fence because I didn't really know anything. Nobody was really making any statements. And I was like, man, it just feels like this is a hit for the Rory and Mal podcast because it seemed like he was pretty important. At least that's how it seemed to me. Like his role and his participation there. And watching episode 1, I was like, damn, this nigga, I see all the value that he was possibly bringing them, if not more, in episode 1.
Ooh, maybe. Did you watch?
There's no maybe for me. There's no maybe for me. I'm standing on that statement.
But I'm asking, did you watch an episode of Rory and Mal after he left, and did you notice a difference?
No, because I don't watch Rory and Mal at all, so I can't.
Well, I feel like that's the best gauge.
No. I can gauge a lot off of your first episode, the value that you could present or bring to any podcasting company. I can see that. The podcast started. The marketing was good for the rollout. This was the first piece of the marketing rollout. Let's play this Twitter thing really quick. This is the first thing that we saw.
Hey, it's me, Julian. You may know me from my Amtrak Bay New Year's Eve saga. It's pitch black. It's also raining. In my peripheral, I see them, and I see her holding hands with someone, and they're walking to my apartment door. The light from my apartment illuminates both of them. I see it's not a woman, it's in fact a man. I lent her a backpack for the day. He's wearing my backpack. And then they start aggressively making out. Or my crucial part in freeing Young Thug. It's something wrong with the pussy. From Lifestyle. Remember, Thug? It's a really good song. Or even one of the many stories or one-liners I provided over the past 3 years. I'll take the Soho.
Well, it depends.
The Soho.
Get the fuck out of here.
I just got a haircut yesterday.
Nobody cares, bro.
You're welcome, guys. Took 1.5 inches off.
You look like you tell your barber take 1.5 inches off.
It was my first time going to a real salon.
A salon? Oh my God. That nigga went to a salon.
Julian.
I'm overwhelmed by all the supportive messages and words of encouragement, as well as all the inquiries regarding my whereabouts since the new year. These messages have helped me conclude what I was once hesitant to believe. I love the community that I helped build, and I want nothing more than to continue watching it grow. I have some exciting news coming shortly, but in the meantime, call this number, 877-557-SWWP, to get in contact with me your intrusive thought therapist. I'd love to hear about your work problems or relationship problems or anything else you need advice on. Talk soon.
Is it just me or is he a little eerie?
He is a strange nigga, but this is
Yeah, like, I
fantastic.
feel like I only watch so much at one time. I was starting to get a little dizzy.
This is great promo
Yeah.
to introduce a podcast fresh off of the main podcast announcing that you're no longer with the company.
Yeah.
It's a great warm up. I've given you a number. I've given you a call to action. I've given you all the moments. First of all, I've reminded
Social
you.
proof.
I'm reminding you the value that I brought to the Rory and Mal podcast. That's number one. In this promotion, that's what he did. I'm reminding you the value. I gave you this story about how fucked up of a person I am, essentially, to where a bitch kind of switched up on me that I flew in. And then I gave them one of their biggest viral moments, which I think is their biggest viral moment, which was the something wrong with the pussy, the Young Thug thing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's bigger than the Maul Drake shit.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, just that one go
Yeah,
clip.
yeah. The Maul Drake shit was big. It's a close second. I would say it might be a close second, but I still think there might be a decent gap because that something wrong with the pussy shit was everywhere. I mean, it was like, that shit was everywhere.
White girl
bro.
sororities.
Like what, on random air fryers and shit? What you mean by everywhere?
It was
like-
everywhere.
Like everybody picked it up.
All right.
Even non-podcast, even non-hip hop podcasts or platforms were picking it up and reposting it. And
they was
those
just-
were getting millions.
They was just replaying it because it was funny or?
Exactly.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so it's like, but that's great for your podcast. That's
Yeah.
extreme exposure. That's value that you have brought to the Rory and Mal podcast. So then he drops episode 1, and he's doing it solo. And the beginning, the things that were present that a lot of podcasts don't have or weren't present is there was a creative name. There was slam poetry, which was stupid as hell, but it's like, nigga, I'm locked in like to this slam poetry thing that you're doing as a diss back to Rory and Mal.
It was a good,
There was topics. There was structure to the show. There were it immediately involved the current audience as well too with the phone call, calling in thing, like everything. There was a lot of things in terms of structure that I saw he present for himself that is valuable to any podcast that he would bring, that he would be a part of, essentially, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I thought the first episode was good.
Yeah.
And I think Rory and Mal made a fucking mistake, honestly.
We all have to listen to a Rory and Mal episode without him being there.
Yeah, and
that's just fair.
And how much money did he want?
Well, that's if you're assuming that he asked for more money.
I
Is
didn't
that-
even say that. I'm just saying, like, how much money did he want? Because I mean, like, the way they spun it, it sounded like a business decision. It didn't sound like Julian came into work one day smelling weird. They was like, all right, we don't like this guy no more. It just sounded like it wasn't making sense anymore financially.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was. Nobody actually knows what it is.
Yeah.
Like at all. So it's like we can only speculate we can really only speculate off of the poem, which we can listen to the poem because this shit is, it's just hilarious that of all the things that this nigga has a knack for, it's poetry.
Haikus and shit.
That's crazy. I was gonna write a haiku for the beginning of every subject topic, and then I was like, I'm not doing that shit.
He's more talented than you, lyrically?
No.
You could write a haiku, though.
So you can do it. You
I could do it. I
chose
just
not
didn't have
to.
time for it. Yeah, I just don't.
Ah, man.
Well, hit record flumps next time. He don't be doing
I
that.
was about to say.
Yeah.
Year after year, pushing back the version
Go
of
to the
yourself
beginning
you
of this
envisioned.
chapter. The beginning of it, yeah.
My letter to you. This is a letter to anyone out there that is doing their best to communicate, but your message falls on deaf ears. This is a letter to anyone not being seen. Let me speak directly to all of you. Your career, your goals, your dreams shouldn't tick away like a QB taking a knee to run out the clock. I've lived it. You've lived it. Year after year, pushing back the version of yourself you envisioned as those around you reach higher heights. You've done things that have put money in the pockets of others, hoping that one day that beautiful karma would find its way back to your very own. You've orchestrated in the shadows, making sure the facade doesn't seep through to the public. You work twice as hard to make up for others' lack of work ethic. You placate the middleman for those too divided to speak to each other. You go to work, smile, continue to make up for everyone's shortcomings, abandoning your own along the way. But you must be a team player. But a team implies no individual is greater than the whole. You find solace in some of the supporting cast. One quits. Damn. Then another. There's a pattern here. Now it's just you and one other colleague. You and that colleague have dreams of turning the corner in the new year. But like Vinyl on 33, it all happens in a flash. You have to make the change that's long overdue. The bond you developed started in disappointment and grew to be genuine. Like anything in life, guys, the takeaway is where the beauty lies. I was deeply committed to my role, both off camera and in front of the lens. And I had reached a point during this past year where no response was the response. Without getting into the weeds any more than I want to disclose, my next project is what I'm most excited about. I wasn't surprised that my time was coming to a close on the podcast. I was fired. And although I was saddened by this decision, there were signs, subtle and razor sharp, along the way. I am grateful for the 3 years I had producing, creating, performing, writing, acting, both in the studio, at live shows around the country, to our allies in the north and the homies across the pond. I'll be back in South Africa. That has to happen. And I'll just leave you with this, a quote from one of my favorite authors, James Baldwin. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. Now let's enjoy this community that we're creating together. I spent a long amount of time
that was definitely a poem, but it wasn't, that wasn't too crazy.
Part of it
sounded like a long Instagram caption.
Part of it almost sounded like a villain origin story, but then it got happier near the end.
Yeah.
But this is why,
like Joker too.
Yeah, the ebbs and flows. Really showing who he is.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna rhyme. Like, I knew he wasn't gonna be Langston Hughes, but
Right.
Yeah.
Well, poems don't have to rhyme.
Yeah, they don't have to, but they're a lot better.
Niggas said the good ones. The good ones do.
They're so much better.
Actually, the great ones don't, for the most part.
Green
Yeah,
eggs and
low-key,
ham.
yeah.
Name the 3 greatest poems.
I can't give you the answer.
Oh,
All
that's
right,
crazy.
then.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right then,
Yeah.
but the great ones rhyme. I mean,
Yeah,
don't rhyme.
generally don't. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna fight you on the point. We disagree. I'm just telling you something I see.
Who would have thought?
I
this
know
nigga
that
was
you
this-
like your poems to rhyme.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How long is
thought
this
this
gonna
nigga
last?
It sounds like he's trying to take it to the moon. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
In a real melancholy way, though.
I mean,
I don't know how much of this is real, like willpower
Passion.
and motivation and passion for what he's doing, as much as it is just spite for what's happening.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, that being a break-off podcast,
It's
episode
the fastest way
one,
to your heart.
showing this much structure and organization on episode 1 is a fantastic way of poaching as many fans as you can from where you came from, and
That is true.
possibly gaining more.
You know what's interesting though? Like, usually when somebody's this valuable to a team, there's somebody on the staff or in the inner workings of the situation who can like vouch for and be like, nah, Julian really did a lot. Like, why is it just him that sees his value? And does that mean that he might have overestimated what he was giving?
Well, we also possibly one or two things. But
You know
we
what I mean? Like, Damaris is
Yeah.
somewhere that like, yo, Julian really, you know what I mean? Like, what he's alleging, he's making it seem like he was doing podcast work. He was taking care of the egos of the main 2 guys.
For sure,
Yeah.
He was playing middleman. Like, why is there no camera dude that's like, yo, that nigga Julian was actually, you know what I mean?
Well, I think
He
the
was a
biggest, I think the
pivotal
big,
part to this process.
well, you also, I think the answer to that question is you have to look at who's making the most business decisions or who's doing the most judgment calling in terms of the direction of the business on that Rory and Maul podcast side. And I think it's blatantly obvious that it's Rory. You know what I mean? Even in the send off, Maul didn't say anything but, You know, it's anytime
Maul
it's
just
come
said his
to,
initials.
anytime it's ever been any sort of podcast business, the person we're looking to speak is Rory. It's never been Raw.
Yeah.
And even when this Maul does speak, I heard him speaking about this. He was pretty much saying, yeah, you know, it sucks. You know, sometimes the business is just, you know, sometimes you grow in separate directions. And, you know, I hate when I have to put the CEO hat on. I'm like, you hate that shit? Like, he hates running.
He do look like
he hates that part.
He hates having
hats.
Yeah.
fire a nigga.
He just wants that Yankee fitted 24/7.
Yeah, to have to do that. So it's like
He's sympathetic.
the only person I can see like that would be able to defend him the most is Rory, because I think he was in the gutter rebuilding and rebranding and the most with Rory. If Maul's not that disconnected, and there was a lot of shots towards Maul, so the whole I put money in people's pockets, hope and think that beautiful karma would come back. Yeah. Apparently, beautiful karma is something that Maul says all the time. So that was like a direct shot to him.
Okay.
So it's like a lot of the shots that we heard sounded like from Julian towards Maul.
What if he's like saving his own ass by not even saying what really happened?
That's what it sounds like.
You get what I mean? Like because if
he's
it
playing
was
a lot of offense, I think.
Yeah, but
he's playing a lot of like elusive, like, you know, he's not just coming out the gate. He's really his way of stringing us along is through slam poetry.
I don't know about offense.
I don't know if he's playing offense.
I don't even know if we could compare it to like sports. I don't know what this is. It's just
I would call it that just because he's giving us something to speculate on compared to the other side is not giving us anything to speculate.
He's pump faking, but like he's not. I'm not scared that he's about to score.
And I like
he's saying things,
and he's saying things in the poem. And granted, this is episode 1, so it's good to do that. Yeah. Marketing, whatnot. You keep
slow feed what happened.
Slow feed them, you know, because Rory and Maul isn't going to say anything.
They're literally not saying anything.
So everybody's kind of just waiting for Julian.
That's all we can do.
But it's part of it feels like he did something because he's not just an angel. And they got punched in the face. Nobody that does nothing just get punched in the face
for no reason.
That doesn't happen.
Oh no. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
You get what I'm saying? So
I agree with you.
I'm like, there has to be another layer in this where like he just went wrong, and
it's 3 sides.
And I don't even think he he necessarily did anything. I think he's overestimating his value. Truly, because if this really was a business decision, which I think it is, because that's what it sounds like. It doesn't usually when there's something underlying. It's like there's something that we can pick at to where it's like, did somebody say something on that day? We don't even have that. So it looks like it just came down to, hey, nigga, it's either Damaris or Julian.
What level of business decision are you thinking? Financially?
Yes.
I feel like that's what everybody is trying to leaning into. I don't know. It just, but Rory, when he did speak on it recently, he said, I don't know where this narrative of we couldn't afford or he wanted more. We're hiring more people right now. So, I mean, niggas could say that. You can always say you're hiring more people.
You can always say that.
But I don't know. The only reason, I guess everybody's like naturally just wants to go with the fact that financially there was a reason why they had to let him go, but we have no reason why none of us know anything. So I don't know why money is the first thing where like most people are going towards.
Secretly, nobody liked him. That has to be
I think there's some truth to that.
Secretly, nobody liked him. We kind of talked about it a little bit in the Patreon.
Or maybe one person liked him, which is Rory.
Nah, it wasn't even that.
Majority don't like him.
It wasn't even that. Maybe he had the most relationship built with Rory, but maybe it wasn't even enough. It wasn't like we said, it wasn't a bro code type of relationship. Mm-hmm. It was just a regular work relationship, high and by.
He could, Rory.
And so,
and when you're
kind of goes with his value.
When you're really valuable, you don't have to be liked because you're necessary.
You're necessary.
But I think you're also speaking from the perspective of I've never missed an opportunity where I didn't realize somebody's value. You know what I mean? People have valuable people around them all the time and miss it and don't realize that happened.
Until after
yeah, so it's like I feel like y'all are also speaking from a position of like these are people who always understand when there's people of value around them, and that doesn't happen. That's not consistent at all.
What
people slip on that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, people definitely slip on that. But
what is his value? Like, what opinion has he said?
I'm not going off opinion,
but
he's not a front man, so his value is all intrinsic. It's just behind the scenes.
It's all in
everything that's inner working.
It's all in.
Nobody's saying it isn't important,
but it's all in how many YouTube videos you've watched about how to be a behind the scenes like camera. It's not. It's not an intrinsic like personality type of valuable, which can
It is because this type of work to even be able to do what he's doing, there's a certain affinity or like willingness to continue to go back to it and crank out as much content as they do, and like to do it at a certain level. It takes more than just know-how. It takes willingness, and like that's an innate trait within a person.
Or
to show up to something all the time, do these things.
Or I put money in your pocket.
All of that too.
Bringing money to the
all of that is
that's huge.
Yeah,
that's really
you
big.
could be a terrible person. You could be a terrible on the mic. Nigga, you keep closing one sponsorship a week. I don't give a fuck who don't like you around here.
And is that what Julian was doing? He was closing.
I think he was doing
sponsorships a week.
I don't know. obviously I don't know the rate, but I think he was bringing sponsorships, money, or added value in a negotiation room. I do believe that.
And see, that's the thing. It's like now, like, you know, all we can do is speculate.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
and the reason I'm saying I can see his value based off episode 1 is the structure of the show. All the things that I listed before. He also had a sponsorship on episode 1. What else?
how much of that is him just being naturally talented at this, or just learning from being a part of a really big platform? What a type.
Apparently, he took
podcast
that
is
really
ran
big platform to another level though when he became a part of it.
I think he did.
Isn't that was a conversation I feel like we've had?
Yeah, well, it has. Because before then, they were in Rory's apartment. And remember, that was early. When
I feel like we
started.
gave credit to their whole behind the scenes staff. That conversation definitely included the Menace, and we was just like, yo, they got a really good supporting cast. We didn't single out Julian as the saving grace.
But we did include him as a big part of the change.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, you're making it kind of sound like we've always praised Julian.
But if you
for
have
his
2 people
individual
there,
talents.
I mean,
we said Rory and Maul got a great staff behind them.
And wasn't Julian's whole thing was that he was a
My statement
workplace
was not that
venom?
vague.
Yeah, it wasn't that
I
vague.
mean, we can pull it up, man.
We can.
It wasn't that vague.
Find it, Lauren.
Pull what up?
That's gonna take a while.
That vague ass statement. There's no
wasn't
way
that
I made a
vague.
vague.
It wasn't
statement
that
like
vague.
No, hell no.
Hey, sometimes you get real spooky, real elusive.
Nope. Sound like you're just bullshitting to me.
Nah, am I lying?
Sound like you don't remember at all.
You guys podcast here too.
I think you're telling the truth.
You don't even know what he's telling the truth about.
Yeah, he does.
'Cause it
Lauren-
doesn't make sense.
I know you
Lord
lied before we
believes the
started this
truth.
episode.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah.
I lied.
Order in
Yeah.
the court. Hold on. Don't let me get my gavel.
I don't even know what you're talking about. But I'll say Patreon $5 if that's what he's talking about. I don't know what he's talking about.
Eyelashes, nigga.
Oh, yeah, that was a whole other situation.
Yeah.
We haven't even got to the bottom of that.
You did lie about that.
No, I didn't lie about that.
Yeah, you did.
He had to
The
move
case,
on. It's
the
you,
case is
dog.
open. It's you.
It's
the case
open?
Is, the case is open.
Context, somebody's woman, and it's only between
It's
him
only between
and
us.
him, because these are the only niggas that come where they work. But we found some ladies' eyelashes in here,
Two
and
of
nobody
them.
wants to take credit
Connected
for it.
together.
A set.
A whole set.
Bitches ain't putting one eyelash on.
Come on, man.
And you see, the thing is,
Which one of our girls do you think is more comfortable taking off her eyelashes?
here?
Yours.
Nah, no
Come
way.
on, dog.
She don't even feel comfortable enough to go inside and use the bathroom. Then you think she's gonna take off her eyelashes?
That's what I'm saying.
I love how y'all just throwing out of context.
$5
shit.
Patreon.
This is
$5.
crazy. That was on him.
She almost pissed
That
outside.
was on him.
No,
That had nothing to do
That's
with me.
crazy.
I told her to do that. I
own up to that
I
before
said you're
they-
better off
before
doing
they
that
think I'm a monster.
because AJ's going to talk about this later. That's what I told her.
Oh my god! All right.
But okay,
Yeah.
Julian, no, you left off with a point though.
It was a brilliant point. What'd I say?
Couldn't have been that bad. That's why you derailed us, nigga.
Nah, y'all derailed that.
I don't know. I don't hate Julian.
Your
so I
point
don't
was
have
about
any-
his value, whether or not
Oh,
he
that's
had,
what it was. Yeah, that's right.
whether or not
Yeah,
he,
the
he-
value.
whether or not he thought too much of his value, like he overplayed his hand.
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
and that's the thing.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was,
I don't
yeah.
hate Julian, so it's like I believe you, and like he had some type of value, some intrinsic value that wasn't
That they obviously didn't value enough.
But here's the thing: you can have the most amazing rhetoric, amazing conversations, amazing shit happening on your podcast, but without a nigga like that or like shit like that moving,
You ain't going nowhere.
it's not gonna happen.
Nothing.
So you think that just from now on, since they lost Julian,
how much
the
direct.
Rory
they-
and Maul
no.
podcast is
No.
reached a
No, because
stalemate?
they have some of that shit in them already. Like Rory's good at shit like that too. I'm sure Rory could, like, you know what I'm saying, if he really
So
had
it
to.
sounds like Julian was a net positive, but he wasn't a pillar.
Do you know
holding
what
up the
kind
whole
of time a
platform.
person gets back from not having to touch any of that shit, or even like, you know what I'm saying, and what
That's a
other
big
things can
that's a
Lord,
big-
you
move?
keep making points that we're not disagreeing with. Nobody said what Julian
So he's a
does-
value then.
Nobody said that what Julian does wasn't hard or it wasn't even like
It's a huge thing though. It's
that
a
he
big
shouldn't
value.
be praised for doing it. But the thing is, it sounds like they can get anybody to do that shit.
Yo, this is great. I
That's
don't
what
even
it
know what you're
sounds
arguing
like.
anymore at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
It's-
that's crazy.
It sounds like it's like, yeah, Julian's job is very important to the platform, but they don't necessarily need Julian to do it.
It's easy to
Get-
say that.
It's
but-
that
You feel
simple.
me?
I know.
It's-
What I like.
Because
I know.
what
I know.
Julian did is not getting done anymore. You can understand, like the Rory and Maul podcast still functions the same. So somebody else is picking up the slack that Julian left behind.
That's what you think. That's what you're assuming, actually.
All right, let's go to the
We all
Rory
Because he
Maul
also
speculated.
podcast.
he also just said,
Let's go to the Rory
I'm
Maul
working
podcast.
double
You thi-
time
you
compared
think
to these
that
niggas,
the
these
thumbnails
other
are gonna
niggas.
look different? You think?
In his poem,
yeah, he said
Yeah,
in
he
his
said
poem, I'm
that was
literally
a high-
picking up other people's
that was a
slack.
high
Yeah, like
cue. Shit didn't.
he's
rhyme.
just arguing to be argued at this
Yeah,
point.
that's
Like
all
it's,
it is.
it's
He's
not
arguing to be
Nah,
arguing.
he's
Just
not
don't
making
take
sense.
it personal, nigga.
I
get it.
think. What's the growth?
What are we supposed to be finding on here?
I'm just looking to see.
We're
the
supposed to be
numbers.
seeing how different everything is with Julian going.
We can't.
can't-
The
we
foundation
won't know.
said already. This
Yeah,
isn't a
we
new
won't know.
show.
And that's the only point I was making, and y'all niggas are acting
So,
like it's
That's
impossible.
not the only point you're making, but we
That's
hear you.
that I literally said. Obviously, somebody is doing the job that Julian was doing now.
I don't
We're
know.
not noticing a difference in him being here. and
He
being
might have built
gone.
the infrastructure.
I don't know. I don't know if Julian was the Moses character you think he was in terms of like just leading, like just evolving the direction of the show. You get what I'm saying? I don't think he was that integral. He was a part of it, but it's like it's Julian.
Y'all see a difference?
I don't know what that means.
I'm just looking at things,
We're not
but
gonna be
they're
able to
they're not
judge
gonna be
off
able.
of
We're not gonna be able.
We're
to
not going to be able to
But
tell
yo, forget about it. Where do you think?
because he was so impactful that we couldn't notice the difference from him being gone and him being
Can
a
this-
part of the show.
Can this
Thank God,
grow?
thank God we didn't say that. What'd you say?
Can this grow from here?
Yeah.
From like it just being him and on his star shit.
Yeah, it's episode 1. I mean,
Absolutely,
this can go anywhere.
Fucking
Well, that's the
possibilities
thing.
everywhere.
You have you're coming off of a fan base that's rabid and culty. So those are always going to be profitable. You're also coming from a fan base who can sell physical tickets. Everything about everything that you're coming from is great for a core fan base. So
Yeah, but-
as long as you continue to produce and have something that people want to hear, then you could do something, you could be just fine. I don't know if it'll be in terms of like Joe Budden podcast level, like 500,000 plays per episode. Highly doubt that. But
It also has to be good though.
stable, successful, small business, medium business, for sure.
It also has to be good though, because if your
don't
buy-in,
think it was bad.
if your buy-in is viral moments and just like just one-off things, but you're playing a long game, you also have to be pretty good and entertaining. Granted, the first episode, I watched it was all right. Like I fuck with his opinions.
Yeah, well,
he
this-
wasn't able to give a lot of his opinions off on Rory and Maul, so that's still up in the air.
Yeah, but that's a creative choice. He's choosing not to do that. It's not like he's not allowed to talk about his situation.
I think y'all talking about two different things.
What? In what one? You're saying that he didn't go in on the details of the Rory and Maul story?
No, he's
No,
just
no,
talking,
I
he's
was
talking
just
about
saying,
on
like-
each individual topic.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what he's saying. Yeah. But
But he's not going to talk about that until episode 10.
yeah, because it's
If
not
he's
his
smart-
it's not his job to go in deep because he's behind the camera.
But even
the star is Rory and Maul. So
when does he? Of course.
Yeah.
And when does he even? Damaris be talking a lot though.
she does.
She's allowed to. She's a man. But when is he gonna say what happened? Because
I think
you
he's
can't
gonna-
keep dragging it along
I think he
forever.
can. I think that's what he's going
With
to do.
Rory
too.
and Maul?
Nigga, the Rory and Maul and Joe thing is still happening. It doesn't get old.
Yeah,
Especially
but that
when
has
you
a
in
lot
spaces
more,
with his enemy.
That probably has so much more legs than what happened between them.
3 years is enough, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think their fallout was as dramatic.
We don't know enough yet, so we can just keep adding things over the next
Yeah.
2
Oh,
or
We
3 years.
can't, but
Speculation's
nothing
gonna
is going to
do
be
the
as
most.
dramatic as that Rory Maul and Joe Budden breakup.
It was
nigga.
definitely the biggest
Motherfuckers
podcast.
cried over that.
That's crazy. But yeah, it was definitely probably the biggest podcast breakup in history, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back.
It's up there. It's competing.
It's up there. It's in terms of urban, yes. I feel like the biggest might have been the white girls. Don't call me white girl. That might have been the biggest.
You mean Call Her Daddy?
Call Her Daddy. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Don't call me white girl is
crazy.
definitely
Mona.
I mean,
Mona.
that was
Both
another
white.
breakup, but
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, in terms of this podcast, I didn't think it was bad. It's not my like exact cup of tea, but I thought he said some funny shit. Like there was moments when I was like, it's pretty entertaining. The way it's shot and edited as well, I see it being it's shot very simply and clean. It's very clippable. You know what I mean? He had a lot of pop-ups referring to the things he was talking about. It's a very clippable podcast, which is important as well too. Like having a podcast that can go like in terms of long form, feels like he's bouncing around a lot and it's a lot of subjects, but at the same time, it's still cohesive because it's fitting the theme that he's laid out for the show, and it's also short and choppy so that he can just pull out. a hot 60 or a hot 30 seconds too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the moments that I put on here, I was just like, yeah, this is some dark shit. I like to hear shit like this, you know. 18.
It's 1835, the start of it.
Yeah, this shit was pretty dark.
Love a good dark stuff.
Terrorism.
Pause.
Give it up. Or just
Oh.
like,
The fuck?
don't make it a scene. Like, just
What just happened?
Just hit. I don't know.
Yeah.
terrorism. Give it up. Or just like, don't make it a scene. Like, just like the guy in Vegas. Did you have to do that in the, you know what I mean? I don't, and all, like they said, he shot himself in the head before the car blew up. Just shoot yourself in the head in the peace of your home. Like, have your fucking, the wife, your girl, or you're like your kid walk in and clean up the mess. You got like, you blowing up in front of the Trump. I mean, that photo is hard. Like, it's a crazy photo. I think that symbolizes a lot about this country in the current state.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that'd be a pretty fucked up clip. Like, have your wife and kids walk in and clean up your suicide. I was like, that's a pretty, you can clip that and make it might go.
It satisfied your dark heart.
And that's
A
why.
little bit, yeah, it did.
Hey, watch our episode tomorrow if you like dark stuff.
Yeah,
But nah, I mean that it was cool. It's clippable.
it's clippable. It's clippable and it's long form, so I don't think it was
It's
bad.
clippable in its long form. Yep.
Yeah,
Good job, Julian. You doing it, dog. Something's wrong with this podcast.
But nah, I mean,
something wrong with the pussy.
That's, yeah.
Is that where?
It was a hit.
Is that was his idea?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the
Play the
idea with
beginning of
name?
the-
Something wrong with the pussy thing?
Play the very
Yeah.
beginning of this podcast.
Hey, man, you know that's his brand, nigga. He smells bad pussy. He knows what it tastes like.
That was his biggest moment. Like a
Hey
awkward-
everyone, welcome
so
to my
awkward.
YouTube channel. Brief message before we get to today's episode. Everything you see in pre, during, and post-production is done by myself, and that can cost quite a bit of money. If you notice, there's a PayPal link in my bio, and I'll also pin it in this channel. Please feel free to donate any and all amount of money. Your contributions will not go unnoticed. Your funds will go immediately back into this show, whether it be for paying for storage space, these software subscriptions that I keep having to get, and just equipment to make the show better. Now let's get to today's episode.
Something wrong with the pussy. Something wrong with the pussy.
Hey, it's your boy Julian. Welcome.
Your boy.
Solid.
That's insane.
Solid 46-second intro. Most niggas don't have a podcast intro. There's basic things that a lot of niggas aren't doing that I think we're just like skipping over.
he
Niggas
did,
be having trash shit, bro, on some real shit. Like, niggas be having trash, no structure podcasts that are successful.
he definitely understands like the science of podcasting, just
Yeah.
like what works.
Yeah. that's
It's
it.
like he's playing
and
basketball
that's,
on a
and
10-foot
that's,
goal.
and that's valuable compared to a group of niggas who don't understand it trying to make something pop.
I don't know. It's
The knowledge doesn't help, I guess, in this case, in podcasts.
Nobody said that, man. We agree Julian's doing a good job. You see that intro? There was something wrong with his pussy, nigga. He was
yeah. Yeah.
fuck.
Oh, man.
Oh yeah. Nah.
But that's about it. All right, let's transition over to him doing some nasty shit.